And welcome to Sweet Tea and Tacos. I'm Dave.
And I'm Jen.
And this week, we're talking about kind of a new adventure that we've been on, of eating vegetarian.
Yep, kind of vegetarian and a little bit vegan.
Yeah.
It's been a real adventure.
So we had a family member encourage us to try it for a number of reasons. And so we have. And it's been an adventure. But the funny part is, one of the first time I was talking to somebody about it, and they were asking what we had been up to cooking-wise, and I told them, and the response was, "Oh, but you're foodies." And I thought that was an interesting response. Kind of like, what did that mean? Well, you're foodies, so you need to enjoy meat. And we do, but this is something we've been doing, to try and as an adventure in cooking and trying new things to be more healthful.
Right. I think, just if we can reduce some cholesterol, or I'm not sure exactly what benefit we were looking for. Right. We were hoping maybe to lose a little weight. I don't think that's really happened yet, but
no, I think for me it's more of a, I think the standard American diet is probably more 80 meat, 20 vegetable, and it could probably be more 80 vegetable, 20 meat.
Easily, yes.
So it's more of a goal, I think if you set your sights on, veganism, it's a little more easy to hit vegetarianism than if you hit vegetarian, I'll have some meat today, I'll have some meat tomorrow, and then you really aren't doing it. So, we've tried.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine sticking with it for a while. You know what I'm dealing with, a little bit of anemia that I had anyway, and there's been some times when I felt like I need to have some red meat just for that. Yeah. But for most people, that's not an issue.
Right.
So
the kids have actually embraced it.
Yeah.
So first part, when you're starting out, when we were starting out, I should say.
Right.
We decided to transition into it and give ourselves a couple of weeks to transition into it.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. I mean, there's no hard and fast rules, and everybody's different, but just listen to your body. There was a time or two when I had, I guess, maybe like gone a week without meat, and then I kind of got the shakes one night and just didn't feel good and had to have some, and then got back on the wagon and went another week or so, and it takes a good, probably I would say 2 or 3 weeks to just kind of.
Yeah, it did us.
Just, I wouldn't recommend cold turkey with that,
Right. And, any kind of change like that, you're going to.
Yeah.
Your body's going to go through a change. But
right. If you were giving up grain or you were giving up gluten or, whatever the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know, preconceived notions I had going into it, that I miss meat more than I miss it. And I really don't miss it that much, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It was more of, especially when you have to eat out,
Yeah.
We've been trying for a while now, not just trying. I mean, we've kind of done this for a number of years. We have been consciously trying to eat clean.
Right.
And, really pay attention to labels, really pay attention to what's in stuff that we're eating, what we buy at the grocery store, and then when you go out, it's really hard.
It is.
And I think from a meat perspective, a lot of times you don't know what you're getting, where that meat's from, what's it been raised on.
Yeah, what hormones has it been given, antibiotics and all that.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So that I really haven't missed the meat because I don't think it's been like this uber quality meat.
Exactly.
And one of the things that since we've been doing this eating clean, when we did transition to this really high quality meats, they're just really, really good. Right. And to me, that level of quality, I don't miss the lower quality stuff. And
right. I mean, it's a trade-off. Like you can say, okay, I'm cool to not eat meat 4 or 5 days in a
Right.
row, to then when I do eat meat once a week, to have this really good organic and
Right.
grass fed and whatever.
Yeah. So I really haven't missed it. I mean,
I haven't missed it much either. I mean, go ahead, but I mean, to me, the hardest part is just the dairy.
yeah. I mean, I think the first challenge was when you're out and about, or you can't prepare anything to take with you. Trying to eat out vegetarian and not eat a salad
Yeah.
is a challenge.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't mind salads.
No.
I can only eat a salad so many times in a row.
Well, in a salad, most salads that are going to be, like, say, from a fast food place that wouldn't have any meat on them are
Right.
not going to be very filling. You
No.
know, they might have a few tomatoes, a
Right.
few cucumbers, and that's about it, you know.
But when you're dining out, that's really a lot of times your options. Is
Yeah.
you're either eating
Well, at
meat,
least in our area
in our
of the
area.
country.
eating meat, or you're eating a salad.
Right.
Now, you will occasionally find a place that has a vegetable plate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'll take a bunch of vegetable sides and you can do that as a plate. That's usually your option, that or a salad. We have one or two, or you find maybe a Greek or a Mediterranean restaurant,
Right, where you could get
falafel or some other things.
exactly.
But in our area, we don't have any vegetarian or vegan really specialty restaurants.
No.
So that becomes a challenge. You know, I think that is also a creative way. I mean, it helps you be creative. All right, what am I going to do today? Oh, okay, well, let me figure this one out, you know. And it's not like we're doing it for any kind of philosophical reasons. So if there is, okay, well, there's a little bit of meat in there. Okay, I didn't know that. Well, it's not going to kill me. You know?
Right. I mean, we're not going to just lose sleep over it.
Right.
I mean, and I mean, that's everybody's personal choices.
Right.
That's just us.
And then we were talking, you know, so it's kind of like, you know, you aim, you know, if you aim for nothing, you'll hit it every time. So you kind of aim high. So
Which is, in our view, high is kind of vegan.
veganism. So you kind of aim for veganism. And we figure we'll land somewhere in vegetarian world.
Right,
you know?
right.
So the veganism is hard, though. It seems like a small
is.
jump, but it's a big
It
jump.
is a big gulf. And we talked about it, you know, to me, it's the butter, the eggs, and the cheese
Yeah.
that's the hardest. Because we were already having, you know, like non-dairy milk
Right.
and stuff around the house. Like we had been drinking almond milk
For a long time, yeah.
for years. And even we had gone into buying like cashew ice cream, cashew milk ice cream, and all of that, you know,
Right.
coconut milk ice cream or whatever the thing was. So, but yeah, it's just difficult
And it's
to
sneaky.
give up those other things.
It's sneaky. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, the milk is a little more obvious sometimes than cheeses that are in things. Butter is probably the thing that's the hardest to part with.
Yeah, at least for us,
At
we
least
just
for
love
us, yeah.
butter.
Even though you have good olive oils or whatever. We use avocado
Yeah,
oil. We use
yeah.
good olive oil. There's still something about butter, and I know
Yep.
there's ghee and there's clarified butter. It's not the same, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, there are some vegan butters out there on
Yeah,
the market.
yeah.
I don't know. Some of them I haven't been overly impressed with. We
Right.
haven't like tried a ton, but it's more me reading the labels.
Right,
Is
and
the thing, and I find things like canola oil, and it's like, wait a minute,
That's not
no,
really
you know, that goes back to our whole. We want to eat clean.
right.
We feel like, you know, canola oil is one of these kind of manufactured oils that's not very good for you and
Yeah.
everything. And so it's like, well, that's a great goal to have non-animal products, but I don't want to replace it with something like butter made with canola oil. You know,
Right.
it just doesn't make sense.
And that was another preconceived notion that, you know, I think we've had or I've had, where you see vegetarianism or veganism and you see the replacements. And I know some people have a lot of questions. Well, if you're giving up meat, why are you trying to replace it with something just like meat, but the flavor and the texture and everything else? And I get it to an extent of trying to replace maybe a flavor profile. But I think, and we've talked about this in that with the eating clean, I think sometimes, like you said, you get in there and these replacements have a lot of junk in them.
Exactly. And it's kind of like what I like to, make the analogy to is, say, if you were going to have to go gluten-free.
Yeah.
Or give up grain, but let's just go with the gluten-free analogy. There's a lot of gluten-free products out on the market, and they're getting better every day. But just because you buy something gluten-free doesn't mean that it doesn't have junk in it. It may not have gluten in it, but there's, like you say, a lot of fillers and whatnot, And so it's kind of the same world. We have found, that's been our experience with this whole vegan, vegetarian thing, in, like, say, vegan hot dogs.
Yeah.
Well, you got to look at the label, and there's junk like carrageenan in them, which is maybe not bad in and of itself, but it's bad for people who have autoimmune conditions.
Like
yes, and it can cause inflammation and stuff
Right.
like that. So it can be tricky.
Yeah. And so part of me didn't quite understand the desire to do that. And I think maybe I'd probably understand it a little bit more. But again, I would lean towards more trying to find more natural ways to do that, and I think there's just going to be some limitations. You're just going to have to accept,
Absolutely.
Some of those limitations.
Right.
I can see finding creative ways, let's say, to replace maybe barbecue. Maybe you smoke a celery root. I've seen that done. And maybe you throw some barbecue sauce in there, and you kind of make it, maybe shred it up, and it tastes kind of like a pulled pork profile or something. I get that.
Yeah.
But using chemicals or like liquid smoke and some of this stuff to, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
That's where I kind of start
Right.
having a kind of,
Right.
man, I don't think you're doing yourself a lot of health benefits that way.
Right.
And I think now from a health benefit standpoint, I mean, we've talked a little bit about it. I mean, the family member that's done this has had a lot of great benefits. We're starting to see some. I think I feel good on it. I feel good eating this way.
Yeah.
And I do feel a difference when I eat meat, usually the next day.
You usually have joint pain.
Yeah, I usually have some joint pain afterwards, which is something that I've dealt with for years. But to me, again, I don't miss the meat.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think I can easily do it. And like, it's just something I think I'll continue with, know?
Yeah.
I think another thing that was interesting to see is when you cut out the meat, especially if maybe you've been low grain, no grain, and maybe, we've done that at time, and we've kind of continued that a little bit where maybe we'll just have meat and vegetables, and we won't have a bread or a flour or something, or we may not have rice or a pot. Well, when you cut the meat out, you're kind of like, I got to replace it with something. So let's have a pasta, or let's have rice and something.
Right.
And that's, I think you can easily overdo that grain part of that.
Especially on the wheat. I think it becomes a lot of bread and pasta.
Yeah, it's easy to do that.
Yeah.
Easy.
So I would say just kind of be careful with that.
Right. And then that's where we can kind of go back to the chickpea or you see a lot of
there's
alternative
lentil pastas,
pastas,
chickpea pastas.
and trying to find some whole grain rices. And I don't think grain's bad. I'll go back to this.
No, not bad.
That's a separate podcast.
It is.
I think, short story is, I think the adulteration of what products have been, natural things have been turned into over the last few decades is probably led to a lot of our problems with these products,
They're just not as healthy as they would have been
in their original,
thousands of years ago.
That's another soapbox to be on. So that was a challenge, all of a sudden, okay, we cut meat out. Ooh, and we're eating a lot of grain now. Let's kind of back that off a little bit,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of great quick things also out there these days. It's a little easier to do that. I think maybe than probably in the past.
There's even, like some frozen meals that are vegan that, you could heat in the microwave or just...
Again, and then there's that are good, clean things.
Yeah.
There are some that aren't, but there are good options, especially where we live. We don't live in a big area for that. If it's available for us,
it's probably available for
everybody.
Available for most anybody. Yeah.
We found some vegetable patties which we like that make a quick vegetable sandwich, instead of a burger.
Right.
And it's something that's frozen. You can pop out, throw in a pan, heat up, and boom, you got a quick meal for a kid that's hungry.
And what we like about them is that they're not trying to be
meat.
Exactly. It's what it is.
Yeah.
You can see the vegetables in them, and it gives you kind of that experience of eating a hamburger, but it's not trying to be a hamburger. It's not trying to taste
like hamburger. It's not trying to look like a hamburger.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then, I think it's also maybe even helped us be more creative in the kitchen. Trying to find, like, we've done a vegetable gumbo, and we've tried different types of vegetable chilies, and we're doing a lot of pasta sauces with different things. We've done vegetarian fajitas.
Oh yeah, some of our favorites have been actually the vegetarian fajitas,
right?
And we've cooked those ourselves or ordered out at our local kind of Tex-Mex place. The chili's been really good, and we've done it a couple of different ways. And one time we did it like Cincinnati chili, which has some kind of different. If you're not familiar with it, a little bit different seasonings like some cinnamon and nutmeg and that kind of thing, and it was outstanding.
Right. But then you have dishes that are just naturally vegetarian.
Right.
You did some red beans and rice.
Red beans and rice, yeah.
You don't have to put sausage in there.
No. And it was fantastic.
Great without it. Though there's probably some diehard Cajuns that are not happy with that at the moment. But no, I like it without it. I'll be honest. I think it's a combination of finding dishes that are just vegetarian. You don't have to find a vegetarian version of something.
Right. Right. Like the cassoulet. Now, I guess traditionally there might be some ham or something in it.
Right.
But it's very easy to do without.
We've been making
you don't lose really anything in terms of flavor.
Right. No, it's just garlic and vegetables and beans.
Yeah.
There you
go.
Yeah. Breakfast is
that's a bit of a mixed bag sometimes.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag.
I guess you can do oatmeal.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of good kind of bars out on the market. I know we talked about processed food, but I would say the little bars you can get are probably better than some of the other processed. Yeah.
But again, it's either grain heavy or meat heavy.
Or dairy heavy.
Yeah. So most of the time we don't really do breakfast anyway. And we do it for dinner. And we do waffles.
Yeah.
And those are vegetarian. So there you go. But, and then, you've done some things. We experimented with a chickpea faux tuna salad the other day.
Right. That was kind of one of those Whole30, or maybe it was Forks Over Knives kind of inspired recipe.
Right.
It was actually really good. I was very impressed.
Right.
It gave kind of that same texture profile to me as tuna fish
pretty
does.
Close.
Yeah.
It's a little heavier, but still. And then we made it kind of the way we've always made tuna fish.
Right.
And it was a very reminiscent taste. I didn't,
we put vegan mayo in it and mustard and, some dill and whatever. It was very filling. It was very good.
So it's, it's very doable. Mm-hmm. The caveats are you will get surprised at a restaurant, especially if you're trying to do vegan. I know, speaking of our Tex-Mex place we like to go to.
Oh, yeah.
You thought you would be safe ordering a bean burrito, right? You know what? Bean burrito. I'm just going to go something light, right? It's covered with a cheese sauce.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Didn't say that on the menu.
Yeah, nothing in the menu. So if you're vegan, that's where it can really get you.
Yeah, I guess you have to just really ask, hey, is there any dairy in here?
You do. But then you'd also be, I guess we've been a little, pleasantly surprised at some of the places. It's like, hey, can you do this or this? Like some of the stuff we've done is not even on the menu. We're like, hey, can you do such and such? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I know I've done that at some places,
Yeah.
and they've been very open to it. Overall, it's been really good for a lot of different things, and I think it's opened up the kids' minds. I know our son has really kind of embraced it, and he's Mr. Workout Health.
Yeah, but I think it's made a big difference for him.
Right.
Maybe more than for the rest of us, but he's lost some weight. His skin's really looking very healthy, and he buys vegan cheese, and he'll make a grilled cheese sandwich or
with vegan cheese. Yeah, and they like it. The kids
love
it.
it. I mean, now you got to get you got to get a good quality
really watch
brand. Yeah, watch the fillers and all that, like we said. But there's some good ones out on the market. We were surprised, like when we entered this sort of whatever experiment. We thought we're not going to do vegan cheese. I mean, we just had this list of things that we did not think we would go there, But we have, and
Now, one thing we haven't done yet. Now, our friend Devon. We've talked about biscuits in the past with our friend Devon.
Yeah.
And we've got the plant-based shortening,
yes.
but we've not done biscuits with it yet.
No, we haven't. We need to do that.
That's a challenge. That's next on our list
Yeah.
of things to make.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's our kind of vegetarian journey, where we are and how we got there. And, hopefully it might be something you'd be interested in trying out. I think it's definitely worthwhile to try and incorporate more vegetables into your diet, if it's by trying vegetarian full-time for a while and then maybe going back to where you add a little meat, but you're still eating a primary plant-based diet, which is a big buzzword right now.
Right. Or even if you just say, oh, there's no way I can do that, try doing, meat-free Monday.
Yeah.
Just start with one day a week or something,
Yeah. You'd be pleasantly surprised, I think.
I think so, too.
Anyway. So that's it for Sweet Tea and Tacos for this week. From our kitchen with the dishwasher and some snoring Scotties.
Yep.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Jen.
Till next time.